Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
How's it going, man?
You know, just another day in queue time, baby. I haven't seen you in a while, Matt, other than on the screen of my laptop. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm kind of feeling like a winner.
Are you?
Yeah.
You know, speaking of
I get to take a nap every day. I don't have to go outside. I don't have to shave. I don't have to shower. Like, life is good as an introvert. Like, this is actually pretty awesome.
You know, I did mention to Jill, my wife, the other day that, you know, I am the most introverted extrovert that most people know. Like, I don't have to have any of that social activity. So we are in many ways built for quarantine. But yeah, ready to kind of get out and do some stuff. Now, speaking of winners, I should probably let you know that today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io, who can help you build a software development team quickly and affordably. Now, back to the show. So today's topic, let me back up. Amidst any crisis, there are winners and there are losers. And as much as we want to move on from the topic of COVID-19 and the coronavirus, it is certainly topical a month or so into this to start talking about and examining who the real winners are and who the losers are based on industry types and the short and long-term economic impact. So you mentioned you were feeling like a winner today. We're going to talk about winners.
Well, where do we start?
Well, there's a lot of places we can start. I mean, obviously, I don't think we have to get into rehashing the situation. We're all working from home. No one's out spending money the way that they normally do. We all have the same issues. I'm actually tired of fucking talking about that. But what we can't, aren't you?
I am, yeah. And I thought SNL did a great skit. I don't know if you saw SNL last Saturday. They actually did it all from home. I didn't watch the whole episode. Yeah. But it was pretty cool. They had everybody on like video conference and Tom Hanks in his house as the host, and it was pretty cool.
So he lived? He's
alive, yeah. He's the poster child of coronavirus now.
They couldn't kill Tom Hanks. That would have been a bigger problem than, you know, I mean, if he made it off that island. Okay. So, you know, I think that when it comes to, you know, we mentioned that amidst any crisis or massive shift in economic situation, cultural, there's a whole lot of different things that can occur. There are often winners and losers. Now, you were the first person on the podcast to say the people that make the most money during a gold rush are the ones that are selling pickaxes.
Yeah.
Now, that's an example of an economic situation or something socioeconomic changing. There was a huge rush for gold. People ran out. If you don't have the pickaxe, you can't dig out the gold.
Well, the tools right now are PPE, right? They're face masks, you know, any kind of protective medical equipment. They can't make it fast enough. And you got other people that have pivoted their business to start making it. Even Lego, that, you know, like Lego, the plastic toys, is making face masks now. Like there's all sorts of companies that sold plastic stuff or different fabrics or whatever that have pivoted to making masks and things.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you know, during times like this, I mean, you know, businesses often do pivot operations and sometimes invest in technology and people to meet short-term demands. And, you know, people are often looking for ways to access essential stuff, food supplies, fitness, maybe haircuts, stuff like that. Like, try to buy some clippers on Amazon a week ago and you couldn't find any. You know, with that, we've seen flexing and challenging nature of the situation on our own supply chain, whether it be from food to supplies or different stuff. And, like I said, we are really starting to, I think some of the early winners, and one of the probably more obvious ones, is just e-commerce in general.
Well, and I think backing up for one quick second, we talk about there being winners and losers. And if you actually stop and think for a second, like go back to 2008 and 2009, when that whole crisis happened, there were winners and losers then too.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because in 2008, I was still working in the musical instrument business, and I was in Washington, D.C. And the prior year to that, I was running a chain of Yamaha piano stores in DC, high volume, big ticket. The first year, so I was there for 2 years. In 2007, we had an ungodly, an amazing year for sales, because people were cashing out home equity and they were spending money on big ticket stuff. And then all of a sudden, here pop goes the bubble, and literally discretionary spending, much less luxury spending, completely evaporated. Now, with that, we saw a huge decline in sales. I ended up leaving the company amidst all that, and that's when I ended up working for Roland. And then I ended up servicing 300 different accounts that all had similar problems. Now, 12 years later, 70% of piano stores are gone.
Never reopened.
They just couldn't, and they were already kind of on the way out. Part of the reason why I was exiting that industry is I kind of saw that occurring. But yeah, so the traditional piano store, of all weird things, like you don't think about, oh, where's my local piano store? But looking back at it 12 years later, 70% of them are gone. And the ones that remained reduced their overall retail footprint dramatically. So, but we're supposed to talk about winners.
You think back then, all the bankruptcies and mortgage foreclosures and stuff like that happened.
Yeah.
If you were the company that cleaned out a house because you were dealing with the foreclosure, business was good.
Well,
right?
if you were a real estate investor that wasn't highly exposed to those drops in prices, then you might, there are a hell of a lot of people that picked up homes on the cheap, literally buying them off the front doorstep where they were being auctioned off.
Yeah. And so that's my point. There's always winners in these things. And, so back to current time, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was about hiring somebody. I'm like, now is the perfect time of all of history to hire. Yeah. Like, there are thousands, millions of people that just got furloughed. If you want to hire, now is the time to do it. Go hire somebody if you can.
Yeah, and we can actually put a relevant spin on that, because at Full Scale, and I mentioned fullscale.io at the top of the episode, but that's a business that you and I are partners in. We provide tech services, and we short term. We took a couple dents, definitely had clients reduce their spend, not necessarily leave our ecosystem, but long-term we'll end up being a winner because we sell remote services. And, there's a lot of things that, well, I'll give you an example, remote teaching. Yeah. Prior to the middle of March of 2020, ed tech was not sexy. If you talk to VCs, they'll cringe when they hear about ed tech. It's a notoriously slow sales cycle. You're also dealing with buyers and clients that aren't always deep in the pocket. They're susceptible to budget cuts, a lot of opinions, politics, and bullshit. But right now, if you have a remote teaching or remote service platform, you are going, oh wow, this is big. And why? I mean, from remote teaching, you look at anything like Zoom. How do you think Zoom usership's up?
Yeah, it's up like 10x or something. It was.
It's probably sick. And then we have some clients at Full Scale that are in the tele space, as we'll call it, and they're reporting that their inbound activity for new clients and signups is up 5 to 10 times of what it was normal. And that's because, once again, you force a massive amount of people into a new work environment, and you will probably find a lot of winners with that.
Well, and I think that is going to have some very long-term shifts in how we work and how we do things, is getting more used to people working remote, telemedicine, all those things. I think you talked about like the example of the piano store, right? There will be some losers in this too that will be like the piano stores that were like, this brick and mortar shit, why were we doing this? This thing was on its last legs and this was the death blow. But then there'll be other things that will be complete winners that were like in their early infancy, like online college, online school, telemedicine, that all of a sudden are going to flourish. And my joke is like, my mom is getting real close to actually ordering something online. She's like the last person in the world who would ever do it. But she ordered.
Your mom has not ordered things online.
No, but she ordered groceries. She ordered groceries. Actually, she had my niece order groceries and have them delivered to their house. Like, that's as close as she's ever gotten to e-commerce. Like, we are almost there.
But that's my point with e-commerce in general. So even though social distancing is what it is, I mean, so you have these like retail online combos, like Walmart same store sales are up 20%, but a lot of that's online.
Wow. Yep.
And that's, I mean, and that's the interesting thing that I haven't been able to get deep enough into, because, in a lot of places, going to the grocery store is like going to a wasteland. And I've seen a couple pictures of you and your new wife, and congratulations again on that, and the soon to be baby, which I'm still hoping you name after me. Name him Matt. But when you go to the store, are you seeing the supply chain catching back up, or are the shelves still empty?
Well, so a couple of things there. I've been to 3 or 4 different stores, and
I'm trying to figure out if the grocery stores are winning or losing, because they're either just amassing opportunity costs at an unforeseen level, or they're killing it.
I think they're definitely doing well, because of all the people who used to eat out, they're not eating out anymore. They're eating more at home. And so there's a lot of people, for example, that they may used to go to Starbucks on the way to work. They'd get coffee and they'd get a sandwich or whatever. Now all of a sudden they got to eat at home. So people are making breakfast more. They're eating eggs more. It's radically changed. And of course, you had people that are stocking stuff up. So I'm sure there's a little bit of a wave of people overbuying, and so there'll be less demand a little on the backside because people are overbuying on the front side. We all went and bought 100 canned goods. Well, now we don't need canned goods for a while, so we've overstocked, right? Like, there's some of that too. But I have to say, we live in a world now where we can't go anywhere and do anything. So like going to the grocery store all of a sudden is like the highlight of the day.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't that sad? Like, I'm getting out of the house, I go to the grocery store.
It's also, and with that, so are you saying that the stores that you've been to locally here in Kansas City, you're seeing, because you were just at one yesterday, right?
Yeah, actually the one I was at yesterday even had toilet paper.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And that's a sign of the supply chain catching back up with different things. And that's why it's sometimes difficult to gauge if someone is a winner. Because here's the thing is, if you have 1 million people outside the door to your store, but you have nothing on the shelves, that's just missed opportunity. You're not a winner. You're actually a loser in that case. So, I think probably one of the most, if not obvious, winners in all of this is Amazon.
Amazon is crushing it, and they've even had to restrict buying certain things. Like, my wife is pregnant and she craves ice cream. So I think I told this story before. I went to order an ice cream scoop and it said it was going to take 30 days to get it. And I'm like, no, this is essential. My wife is pregnant. She needs ice cream like now.
Now, I've seen that on a lot of things that I've actually ordered and bought, and it certainly has not taken as long as it claimed. I think they're under promising and over delivering.
Yeah. I got it like 2 days later. Now, I tried to order another bidet, and shit out of luck on that. They're all sold out.
Okay, so as very well known to anybody that's friends with me on social media, I have a hot rod of a bidet up and running. I did have to wait 10 days for it to be delivered. Now, I went back because someone asked me for the link of what I had bought, and they had raised the price by 15% from when I bought it to when I went back. So, and it wasn't cheap. I mean, they put another $60 on it.
Well, you talk about winners or losers. Bidets are like the weird random winner in this. And is this going to make
the real winner on the bidet is me. I've been doing it wrong. I am the real winner. And you mentioned before we hit record that we haven't talked a whole lot recently. It's because I got a bidet. It's been keeping me busy.
Well, and this might be a weird example of a weird cultural shift where like not a lot of people had bidets, but all of a sudden during the coronavirus, that was the thing and everybody got one. And now,
dude, I really have been doing it wrong. Yeah. I haven't used toilet paper. I'm 5 days toilet paper free, and I don't think I'm going back. Man. So now with Amazon, as kind of an obvious choice. I mean, obviously they had a massive percentage of the overall share of e-commerce conducted. I mean, I'm sure that's continued to spike. I mean, Amazon and Walmart are on the list of 2 places that are aggressively hiring, and that's a sign and an indicator, I think, for industries as winners and losers. Now, there's a few things here, because some types of restaurants are straddling a line. There are some that are winners. How do you think pizza delivery is doing right now?
Oh, gotta be killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Because when you think of food delivery, the first thing you ever think of
pizza
is pizza. Because
the original food delivery, right? Yeah.
You don't think of like the weird mom and pop store that might be on Grubhub or whatever. You think of Pizza Hut and Papa John's and stuff.
Yeah, and I'll save it more for the loser side of the bracket. But so with a lot of pizza restaurants, you look at like a Papa John's. We'll just take Papa John's for example. I know that they've had some controversy, but they don't have a big footprint. They're like basically in a little tiny space with a conveyor belt oven, people making pizzas, and men and women coming in and out the door, rolling out for deliveries. And Papa John's right now is reportedly hiring 20,000 people. Pizza Hut's adding 30,000, and Domino's, they might need to get their shit together. They're only hiring 1,000. But, like I said, and we'll save it, there are some that are straddling the line.
Right.
We mentioned earlier, and I think this deserves another pass here, but remote working in general. Here's the thing is even when the economy does reopen, it's going to happen in steps and stages. And I think a lot of people are going to come out of this with a completely different outlook, not only it could be positive and it might not be, but when it comes to working at home, I think that you're going to have a whole new class of people that are going to say, hey, look, we managed to do that and it wasn't so bad.
Well, and actually we were talking about this in my management meeting yesterday at Stackify with the management team. And we're actually feeling like for a lot of our employees, they're actually more productive now than they were before.
Yeah.
Weirdly as it is.
Now, I would be a lot more productive if my coworkers would go back to preschool on some levels. And, I'm used to working at home. Over the last 2 years, I've come to the office, which Full Scale shares with Stackify. By the way, if you want to check out Stackify, stackify.com, help you do a little application performance management. But, prior to that, I had worked from home for 15 years, and some of that's just a little bit of an adjustment. I was up till 1 a.m. working last night because my kids had an especially wild day yesterday. They're still flying high from Easter candy. But, overall, when it comes to remote work tools, you have a whole lot of components. You have video conferencing, you have time tracking, you have project management, you have collaboration tools. Things like Stackify, which might help alert a team to a problem with a website or a platform and do it more effectively because people aren't there to say, hey, I see an issue, and like a whole lot of different stuff. You have it goes on and on and on, and that's part of what's going to be interesting, because I don't think the world of software platforms and management was necessarily set up for this massive of a migration of people to a remote work environment. And every industry and every type of company has different needs when it comes to that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so for example of this, and you're absolutely right. So take, say, Cerner here in town. They've got like 20,000 employees, whatever. All of a sudden,
Cerner is a massive creator and provider of medical software.
All of a sudden, like the next day, boom, you all work remote.
Yep.
With no notice, now what that has done, I have a friend that works for Azure and sells like Azure hosting and stuff. There was a massive up in usage of Azure and AWS and stuff of all these people trying to provision online desktops and workstations and servers and to try and facilitate all of this remote work. I mean, there were IT departments scrambling like crazy that all of a sudden that were super worried about security and all this kind of crap that all of a sudden are like, throw all that shit out the window. Starting Monday, you work at home. And how are we going to do that? That was a major change.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I went through in my last days in Cebu at the Full Scale office. Like all of a sudden we went from, like, hey, what are we going to do to, hey, we're closing the office, and then realizing like our office is open 24 hours a day. Yeah. Like we had to come up with a completely different, like, I mean, you talk about doing that on the fly and doing a whole lot of stuff, and dude, no one was ready for this.
No.
I mean, if you're the one company out there that had truly provisioned for viral contagion and had a contingency plan that actually made sense and was useful, please reach out, because I'd like to talk to you, because I'd also like to borrow your crystal ball.
It was Stackify. Every single one of our employees had a laptop and could work from home.
Yeah, but you didn't have a viral contagion plan, and
we didn't need one.
Well, right. Well, and Full Scale was the same way. You look back and, Full Scale is a couple years old, but we have 190 employees, and, a business that grew really fast and has kind of an insatiable appetite for upfront expenses. We had made the decision early to provide high-powered and basically expensive laptops universally to our entire employee base. Now, when we did that, part of it, and I brought this up in a really early meeting, was it was more related to the concerns that could come with, I was more concerned about climate change, because the Philippines is in a tropical belt. They have typhoons. We're seeing, with climate change, we're seeing uptick in storms and their power. And I was a little just more concerned about, having a 10-day period in which infrastructure was struggling and we couldn't get to the office for some reason. Now we had the debate over the last couple of years, is this expense worth it? Yes, because if we had taken that expense, deploying completely, that's another thing too, is like, not everybody has a laptop. Not everybody has that ability to pick up and go. And
I bet that's another winner right now, is people that sell laptops.
Actually, sales are down, but I attribute that. I think that, but I think that's probably just based on the whole, you got 15% unemployment rate. You got a lot of different things that are struggling. And then, I think that there are just some things that when it comes to the bigger the ticket, the more hesitant someone is to buy without seeing it right in front of them.
Yeah.
And, overall, that's, that's all right. Here's another one: home fitness programs.
Absolutely.
Do you think more people are dialed into Beachbody and whatever's out there?
My niece lives with me now, and she's doing Beachbody.
There you go.
She eats like shit, but she's doing the Beachbody workout. She's doing the exercise.
Now, speaking of which, I'm a winner and a loser when it comes to this. I'm currently on pace to be Kansas's strongest fat guy. Because I several years ago at a former business, we had a gym. So and when we shut the business down, I brought all that equipment home. So I've got a cable machine. I have dumbbells from 5 pounds to 80 pounds. I have I have everything I need. I have like a pro gym, and I haven't missed a workout. The problem is, I'm in my house. I looked at like my step counter, and like when I opened it up, it just made a crying sound.
Well, let's be honest. We're all a little stressed out and depressed these days, like 4 out of 5 people. So we're all doing a little stressed out eating. No doubt about it. Yeah.
And then just a general, here's the thing is I'm usually on the go. I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm not just stuck in my house. So, that impact now, as you're aware, I used to own a business with someone else that delivered fitness equipment, millions of dollars of it every year. And, so those stores closed, but I actually reached out to Charlie, my former business partner. I asked him, I was like, so what's going on? The number of transactions of private to private sellers for gym equipment's through the roof. And they actually make a higher margin on those deliveries than the bulk deal that they have to the fitness equipment store. So there's this huge, and people are going further and further. So Daryl, our COO, at Fullscale, called me about 10 days ago, or I was talking to him. He said he was getting ready to drive to Topeka, Kansas. I was like, what the fuck are you going to Topeka for? He's like, it's the closest place that I can find weights and a weight bench. Now, I ended up loaning him some stuff out of my stash, but think about that. He was going to drive 60 miles to go make a private transaction of a weight bench and some other stuff. But,
crazy.
So, the home fitness programs, how many people do you think are now playing more video games?
It's got to be a lot of people.
I mean, it's got to be through the roof, dude.
I mean, that's all my kids do all day instead of being at school.
Yeah. So yesterday I recorded an episode with Erin Falk from Lily and James Creative, and she was reporting that use of YouTube is up 50 to 70%, depending on what time frame you're looking at. And the same with Instagram. Now, on the flip side of that, you would think that social media platforms and providers would be benefiting from this. That is not true, because as many of you may have listened to by now, we just did an episode on Facebook advertising where we had a guy named Nick Shackelford, and his company spends over $1 million a week for their clients. And he said, you and I had discussed this, Matt, in prior episodes. I confirmed that that CPM and CPC expenses are down 40 to 50%.
Wow. Yep.
And I actually decided to test the theory. And, we've had the best ad that we had ever created on Instagram converted at a remarkably low price. So I did a $50 sample of it, and it came in 40% cheaper.
Wow.
And it had already been super cheap. And that's just a marketplace dynamic. Any CPC costs, those are just bids and auctions. So, if you look at it, wanting to make yourself a winner, if you have budgets, this is a good time to potentially build your brand
if you're an advertiser. If you're an advertiser, and you can sell a product right now, you're a winner.
Well, not even a product. I mean, we're talking about just a brand play, because we're not really selling anything when we do an Instagram ad for this podcast. But here's the thing is, we're doing that because we are trying to reach out to you as a new potential listener, whether that comes now at half price or in 4 months at full price. Well, what's a better deal? If you were going to, so now that said, you have to be able to afford it. But Nick Shackelford for the Facebook advertiser had reported that they are seeing conversion rates on certain products, especially things that are the go-to products, the staples, are converting at an all-time higher rate, making online sellers a winner. And then on top of that, because Amazon's big advantage as a seller has been the speed and accuracy at which they deliver stuff. When that became overloaded and compromised, it opened the door to a shitload of ma and pa type e-commerce stores. Well, I'll give you an example. I ordered $150 worth of beef from Riverwatch, our former guest. And had it delivered. It was on my front porch, ready to go 48 hours later. Thank you, Chris. And thank you for the free beef jerky. But that was an example of I didn't have any, I bought a whole lot of meat. There was no shortage of it. So that was an example of a local seller being able to have a faster response. And I'm hearing a lot of that. Now, there are some on the flip side, and we'll save that for the other episode. But, some people do have, according to Andrew Morgans at Marknology, a lot of sellers got their shit's basically frozen in a warehouse, or it was because it was non-essential.
Yeah.
So people don't want to, like you said, with the ice cream scoop, people don't want to buy things. They have to, if you need it today, you don't want to wait 3 weeks to get it.
No. All right, I got a couple more winners we need to cover here.
What do you got? Winner,
right.
chicken dinner. What do we got?
All right. So have you heard about this? Drive-in movie theaters.
Those are even a thing?
Yeah, and they're popping back up. Evidently, there's been some that have popped up.
Fuck, that makes a lot of sense, man. And amidst AMC talking about maybe not even opening again.
Now, I don't know what the hell movies they're showing. Maybe they're showing old movies or something. But dude, any excuse right now to get your kids out of the house or do something?
That's great. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And you're socially distanced. You're in your own little bubble, and you can even get out and sit.
So
It's
the same way they're doing church now. They're doing church in parking lots now that way.
Nice.
All right, and I got another one for you. DIY landscaping and gardening. People at home all day. I talked to several of my employees. They're like, dude, I've never mowed my yard and done this shit more often in my... Isn't that crazy?
I'm in that boat. I said, here's a couple things I've shared in the past that a couple years ago, I started mowing my own lawn again, because for whatever reason, I have some of my best entrepreneur ideas while I'm mowing my lawn. So I wanted to gain that back. But, like overall, just as a desire to get out of the inside of the house, dude, I have this thatcher. I thatched my whole lawn. Who the fuck does that? Well, no, I did, because
you got time now.
I had time, and I said, man, if we can't have a winning lawn. And another thing too, you talk about the DIY landscaping, it's more, all right, so I have had mixed success growing new grass in parts of my lawn, because I will be gone all day and it gets hot and it just burns up and I forget to water it, or the sprinkler doesn't hit it enough. And I actually, once this little cold snap that's running through Kansas City is done, I'm going to grow some grass, and not the kind that American hemp grows.
All right. I got another one for you. And this one is booming and probably be booming for a while. Cleaning companies.
I told mine to stay home.
Yeah. But if you're in an office right now, holy shit, you got to clean the hell out of that thing now.
Yeah.
Because you got to worry about all this, the disinfecting everything, all that. Oh my God, that is booming like crazy right now.
Well, that would mean that cleaning supplies and tools would potentially be doing a whole lot. One of the things that I was reading in regards to airlines and their rebound was asking, when will people feel comfortable? What will make you feel comfortable coming back onto the airplane? And literally the overwhelming answer was clean airplanes.
Yeah.
And disinfecting. By the way, I'd like to enter a winner here. Guns, firearms,
big time.
I mean, dude. So, and I shared this. I've never been a gun owner until recently. When I got back, I actually did make a purchase. Now, I suggested to my brother-in-law that he do the same. He went to the same store, which is a massive sporting goods store here in Kansas City. And he went just a few hours after I did, and he ended up having to wait 12 days to get approved. Now, I was in and out. In Kansas, with its loose Dodge City style gun laws, let me go in and go out. But when I was there, the only people in this massive store were all in the firearms section. They were completely out of ammunition on several different types, and they were out of some guns altogether. By the time my brother-in-law made it there 3 hours later, they were completely out of. He bought the very last 45 handgun. I mean, think about that, dude. This is the Walmart, it was at Shield, which is a mega store. They have a carnival-sized Ferris wheel in the store.
Yeah.
But and I asked the guy working there, I was like, I can imagine you've been busy. And he's like, oh man, you don't even know. So, but with
worried.
that, well, so many people
people are going to get.
But so many people were buying gun permits. It literally log jammed the ATF system. And 12 days, dude, to pick up. And
crazy.
I missed 3 hours earlier. I was in and out in under an hour. All right. What else you got?
Porn.
Oh, dude, I bet.
Porn is booming.
Now, is this from firsthand experience? Are you driving the market up yourself?
No, I'm recently married, so no.
I was thinking about that the other day. Just porn.
But
that's all I had to say.
The other thing that's booming is the purchase of condoms. There's going to be a worldwide shortage of condoms.
No, is that real?
Yes. Yeah, because
Really?
everybody's at home. Everybody's at home.
Oh.
And so the other winner we're going to have in 9 months is babies.
Well, and I would say that potentially counseling.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, think about that, man. Well, you've gone in and out of a marriage, much like I have. If you were trapped in your house for 2 months with your ex-wife, how would you feel? And my answer is like I needed a fucking counselor.
Well, I think as we've talked about before, and people said this a lot, like 60, 70, 80% of all people right now are struggling because of either they're worried about coronavirus, they're worried about going out in public, they're sick of being at home, they're all of these problems, right? Even domestic abuse is up, like all of these things. So therapy, counseling, all that stuff right now is greatly in demand, but it all has to shift to be teletherapy now.
Yep.
But it's got to be in hot demand right now. It's one of the things, like we went to all of our employees and said, hey, if you're not feeling good, these are resources that are available. Yeah. These are resources available through our insurance. Our insurance provides, these psychological services, right? And here's how you take advantage of them, counseling, all that stuff.
So I've mentioned in the past that my sister and her husband are both doctors. And I recently was speaking to my brother-in-law and he told me that both of them have recently been approached about working for telemedicine companies and offered huge paychecks. And like, it was eye-opening for them. They were like, wait a minute, I don't have to go. He works in like a first care ER type environment, which has got to be freaking terrible right now. And my sister's an anesthesiologist, and I don't know how you anesthetize someone through telehealth, but I'll get back to you on that. But I mean, there's definitely a push towards that. We had a former guest, Therapy, who has a remote tool that therapists use. Like, I mean, Here's the thing is if you can't get in front of people, and look, here's the reality is we have just begun. We're on the first lap of 10 when it comes to getting this out, because until there's an appropriate therapy or vaccine for coronavirus, there's going to be a lot of limitations to personal contact and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of room for these things to grow. Well, do you have any other winners?
No, but I'm excited to talk about all of those things in our losers episode.
I'll tell you what, let's get after it. I'll see you here in a few minutes.